Good morning, students. Before moving to further topics, now we will recollect what we have learned so far. In this class, we are going to revise all the topics. We learned about the basic structure of computers. Yes, computer is an electronic device that operates under the programming control, right? It is a device that is controlled by the program. And the basic operations the computer perform are input, right? It takes input from the user and processing the input using the instructions and output, okay? Giving the result of the process back to the user and storing the instructions, what is used for processing the data, and also the results, right? After the processing, the results also need to be stored. Taking input and processing. This produces the output and displaying the output and storing the instructions and the data, okay, that need to be stored in memory. And if you take computer systems, hardware and software, right, that makes the computer system. Hardware is the physical entity of the computer, such as mechanical and electronic components that can be touched, like keyboard, mouse, and monitor, motherboard. All these are the hardware components. And software, this consists of instructions and the data that the computer manipulates to perform the processing, right? Using the set of instructions or the set of programs that operates the computer, right? If you take the software component, you have system software and application software. System software is the software needed for the operation of the computer. Without system software, the computer, only with the hardware components, it will not operate. So to operate, you need a fundamental software, that is system software. And on the system software, we will have the other applications based on the interest of the user. Whatever the user is working on, those particular applications we can have. That applications are, application software is a program that direct computer to do some specific task. Okay, if I use Word, I can tell computer to make note of what I feed to the computer, right? So depending on the user's interest, we can have application software, but application software run on the system software. That is the foundation for running any application. And system software is act as an intermediary between a system and the application software. The operating system, right? One example for system software is operating system, okay, on which the other applications run, like Windows, okay, DOS, Unix, all. And we also have utility programs. Whatever the information given to the computer is given in the user understandable form, that has to be converted to the machine understandable form. That is also done by the utility softwares. Okay, compilers, assemblers, interpreters, all those are system. These all come under system software. And application software is what we are using for completing our task, okay, with the background of the system software. So we also have seen under this basic structure, we have seen the computer architecture, the von Neumann architecture. It is based on the stored program architecture, right? It has a single processor that operate sequentially on data that is stored in the same physical memory where the instructions are stored and in the same format. Okay, this is the von Neumann architecture. The central processing unit, the main part of the computer is the central processing unit that has control unit and arithmetic and logic unit. Control unit controls the operations of the computer, and arithmetic and logic unit performs all the arithmetic and logical operations. Now we are discussing in the later classes, we discussed about the performing arithmetic operations, correct? And logical operations. So all these are performed by arithmetic and logic unit. And memory stores the instructions and data. We take input, right? Input and output are the two components, that is to interact with the outside world. And inside the computer, if you see, we have the memory And the processor. Processor has control unit and arithmetic and logic unit. Accumulator is a register that stores the results we get from arithmetic and logical operations need to be stored. That is stored in accumulator. Okay. It is a register. So we have discussed about these registers that are used to store data and instructions. Correct? So instruction register hold the instruction that is currently being executed, and program counter is a register that keep track of the execution by keeping the address of, having the address of the next instruction to be executed. Okay, when a program is being executed, okay, keeps track of the execution by holding the address of the next instruction. And general purpose registers, we have to store data. Okay, and accumulator, as I told you, it stores the result of arithmetic and logical operations. And we have two registers that facilitate communication with the memory. Okay, to store the address and the data. So memory address register holds the address of the memory location to be addressed, or if you want to store some data, where that particular data has to be stored. And the data register contains the data to be stored, okay, data to be written in the particular address pointed is by address register. So memory address register holds the address of the memory location, or if data has to be accessed from memory, address need to be pointed. Okay, so that the address will be there in memory address register, and the data, corresponding data, will be stored in memory data register. And all these components like control unit, arithmetic and logic unit, memory, input and output need to be connected. Okay, we have the set of parallel conductors that carry information from one functional part to another functional part of a computer is a bus. Okay, we call it the set of wires. Buses, a set of wires that carry information from between the functional units of the computer. So they connect the functional units of computer. And we have three main types of buses. Control bus that carries control signals. Okay, whatever the control unit sends for controlling the operations. It may be either to fetch data from memory, okay, to get data from memory, or to process, okay, giving control signal to doing some arithmetic and logical operations. All these control signals are sent by control unit, okay, from control unit by this control bus. And data bus, it is a conductor on which data signals are transmitted. Okay, whatever the data that fly between the input output devices and pass between the input output devices and between the arithmetic and logic unit and the memory. Okay, all these are is transmitted through this data bus. And address bus carries the address information, okay, of the data being accessed from memory or being stored in memory. The address information is carried by address bus. So here we see this control bus, address bus, and data bus between the functional units, input output unit, memory, and CPU. Okay, the control signals are control signals that are sent from the CPU by control unit. Okay, if it is to memory, it will be taken to memory by control bus, or if it is to input output units, it is taken to input output unit, like address bus that carries address information, and database carries the information, the data. Yes, gates are block of hardware that produce signals of binary 1 or 0 depending on the input, right? It is a hardware circuit that produces either 0 or 1 based on the input. We have seen all these gates, right? And the basic logic gates are and, or, and not. This is not. Okay, means negation. So these are the basic logic gates, and we have other gates. The AND operation is, yes, A and B are the input bits, okay, given to the logic circuit, and it produces X. If both the inputs are 0, AND gate produces 0, correct? If the condition here is, if both the inputs are 1, the result of AND gate is 1, otherwise it is 0. Okay, it is same as multiplication. If both the inputs are 1, it is 1, otherwise it is 0. Okay, we use this symbol dot A dot B that represents the logical operation x equal to is A dot B AND operation. Or you can combine both and write x equal to AB. And R is a circuit that produces 0 if both the inputs are 0. If one of the input is 1, it produces 1. Okay, like it's if both the inputs are 0, the result is 0. If one of the input is 1 or both the inputs are 1, the result is 1. And the next gate is NOT gate. Okay, it is whatever the input you give, it negates, it complements the input and gives that as a result. If the input is 0, the result is 1. If the input is 1, the result would be 0. And buffer is a circuit, it does not produce any logic function. Okay, it does not perform any logic function. The function is amplifying the power. It gives the same output. If the input is 0, the output will be 0. If it is 1, and the output is 1. Okay, this is used for power amplification only. It does not change the input. And NAND is not AND. Okay, it is not AND gate, negation of AND gate. So that is why we use this symbol everywhere when there is NOT. The NOT operation also will have a circle at the output side of the logic circuit. And here at the output side, we have a circle and the symbol for AND is used here. So it is not AND. Okay. So we use the expression is x equal to AB, that is same as AND, the expression of AND with the complement. Okay, you can write it also as x equal to AB complement. Okay, and the result is it just complements the result of AND. So where AND gives 1, AND produces 1 if both the inputs are 1. So NAND produces 0 if both the inputs are 1. Okay, all the other cases the result is 1. Same way NOR circuit is, it is not OR. Okay, so we have the logic OR here with the circle at the output side. Okay, that means negation of OR. The expression is same, x equal to A plus B here. So here we will have x equal to A plus B complement, and the output, if you see, it produces 1 if both the inputs are 0, whereas OR produces 0 if both the inputs are 0 and all other cases 1. But here all other cases are 0. And the XOR circuit, it has a curved line at the beginning. With R, the curved line at the beginning, right? It is, the function is, it produces 1. It is an odd function. We used it in many places. Okay, it is an odd function. When there are odd number of ones, the output of this gate will be 1, otherwise 0. Okay, when both the bits are 0, the result is 0. And when both are 1, both the inputs are 1, the result would be 0. Okay, result is 1 only when there are odd number of ones. And the negation of this XOR is XNOR. You have the same XOR symbol with the negation symbol at the output side. Okay, so it just complements the result of XOR. Here you have 0 for 0 when both the inputs are same. But here you have 1 when both the inputs are same and when they are different. Okay, when there are odd number of ones, you will have 0. The expression, it can be expressed as A exclusive or B. Okay, exclusive or, and here it is A exclusive or complement. Okay, it can also be written as this way, A complement B plus A B complement. And X NOR is X equal to A complement B complement. You take both the complements of both A and B and add it to A and B, you get the same. Okay, the same as performing A plus B, A exclusive or B complement. So then we discussed data representation, right? All the number system come under this, and how we convert between numbers and how we find the complements. Decimal number system, the number system which we use to give data. Okay, it has digits 0 to 9 and the weightage is 10 power 0, 10 power 1 for the bit digit at the second position, 10 power 2 for the digit at the third position. So if the number to be represented is, if let's say 82, okay, this is the bit at the 0th position and bit at the first position. So this gets the weightage of 10 power, okay, 10 power 0 and 10 power 1. So you multiply this 10 power 1 plus 2 into 10 power 0. It is 80 plus 2. Okay, this is how it is represented. The weightage is represented this way. And binary number, it is a number with base 2, right? Base 2 number system. It has digits 0 and 1. The weightage is represented as 2 power 0, 2 power 1, 2 power 2, and so on. So if you take a binary number, let's say 0, 1, 1, okay, weightage of this is 2 power 0, 1, 2. So the weightage is 2 power 2, right? The third position, plus 1 into 2 power 1 plus 1 into 2 power 0. It is 0 plus 2 plus 1, which is 3. So 0, 1, 1 is the decimal equivalent of 0, 1, 1 is 3. We use this method for finding the decimal equivalent. And generally, when you represent a binary number, when you represent any number using binary, this is how you will find the corresponding decimal number. And octal number system is a base 8 system that includes the digit 0 to 7, right? And the weightage is 8 power, as it is base 8, 8 power 0, 8 power 1, and 8 power 2. And hexadecimal, it is, hexa means 6, decimal is 10. So it has 6 plus 10 digits or symbols. So we have the symbols 0 to 9. The symbols that are represented by this hexadecimal system are 0 to 9 and alphabets A to F, where A is equal to decimal 10. The weightage is 16 power 0, 16 power 1, and so on. So here is the table that shows the relationship between these numbers. Correct? Decimal, we have 0 to 9, and then octal 0 to 7. Hexadecimal, we have 0 to 15. Correct? So it has 8 digits. Octal has 8, and hexadecimal 0 to 15, 16, decimal 9. And here binary bits, binary representations, if you see, octal to represent these 8 bits, we have. So what is a binary? How many binary bits are needed to represent these 8 digits of octal?
3, ma'am.
3 bits, good. Okay, so here hexadecimal, we have 16 symbols. Okay, we need 4 binary bits to represent 0 to this 15. Okay, 4 binary bits are needed to represent these hexadecimal numbers. And binary, we use binary coded decimal, right? Yes, before that we have conversion. Binary coded decimal, where we represent the code BCD is used to represent 0 to 9, the 10 digits of decimal. We'll see that. So converting between these bases. How we convert any number to its decimal form. Okay, the number may be in, other than decimal, we have binary, octal, and hexadecimal. So any number in other form to be converted to decimal, the procedure we use is just multiply each digit by an integer power of r. Okay, or you can say that it is multiply each digit by its weight, corresponding weights. Okay, if any number you take to convert to decimal, what you do, you convert it, you multiply it by the corresponding weights. Okay, this is with the weights. If it is octal number system, we multiply each digit by these weights, 8 power 0, 8 power 1, and the third digit with 8 power 2. Okay, same if it is binary, we multiply it by this weightage, 2 power 0, the first what we did here. Okay, this is how you convert any number to its binary form, sorry, decimal form. and decimal has to be converted to other representations, right? So for converting decimal to base R representation, that R may be 2 if it is binary, and 8 if it is octal, or 16 if it is hexadecimal. So how you convert a decimal number to base R representation? The first step is you divide the integer part. If it may have fractional part, so if you divide the integer part by R. Okay, if the decimal number is to be converted to binary, you divide it by 2 and accumulate the remainder. Correct? Repeat this until the integer quotient becomes 0. You will repeat the process until the quotient becomes 0 and the remainders form the answer. Correct? We write from the last remainder. Okay, you collect the remainder from the last remainder. The first remainder as the least significant bit and the last remainder as the most significant bit. And for fractional part, what we do, we multiply each fractional part by R. If it is 0.3 and it has to be converted to binary. The R is of binary is 2. So you multiply that by 2 and keep accumulating the integer digits obtained. Okay, if it is 0.3, you multiply it by 2 to convert it to binary, and 3 2s are 6. It is 0.6. This is the integer part. You keep accumulating this. Now again, you will take this, multiply this by 2. 6 2s are 12, so you will get 1.2. So now the integer part is 1. Again, you multiply 2 by 2. Okay, 0.2 by 2, you get 0.4, that is 0.40. So here this way you keep accumulating the integer digits, the integer part of this result, and you start writing. In the result, when you write, you start writing from the first carry. Correct? This is a carry out of this multiplication. So you start writing from the first carry. The result, you will form the result as 0, 1, 0. Not like here division, we write from the last remainder, but here we write from the first carry. The first carry as the most significant bit and the last carry as the least significant bit. You will continue this multiplication process until the fractional part becomes 0. Okay, or until you will fix a number of decimal points. Okay, sometimes the process may be repeating. You already, you had 3 here, 0.62. And when you again get 0.2, okay, you don't have to repeat the process. Already we did. We multiplied 0.2 by 2. Okay, so that's there you can stop and write the integer, the carry accumulated. Okay, one example if you want, let me take one decimal number, 235 decimal. Okay, let me convert this to octal. So from decimal to convert it to any other form, you divide, we have only integer part. So 235 divided by the base R. Okay, as it has to be converted to octal, the base is 8. Okay, we divide it by 8. 2s are 16. 9 8s are 72 and the remainder is 3. And divide it again by 8. 3 so 23 8s are 24 and the remainder is 5. Divide 0 3. So how you write the result? 3 5 3 from here. This form the most significant bit. 3 5 3 to the base 8. 3 5 3 is the octal equivalent of decimal 235. Okay, if you want to check it, what you do, you can convert it back to decimal and see. Okay, how you convert 353 into decimal? (353) is the octal of equivalent of 235. Now to convert it to decimal, what you do? Yeah, any number to be converted to decimal, you take each digit and multiply it with a weightage. Okay, 0, 1, 2. It is 8 power 2 plus 5 into 8 power 1 plus 3 into 8 power 0. That is 3 into 64 plus 40 plus 3. What is 3 into 64? 192 plus 40 plus 3 is, it is 235. Okay, it is the same as the decimal number we took. Okay, this is how you convert from decimal to octal. Any other representation? This is the common procedure. Okay, divide it by the base. And to convert to decimal, you will multiply it with the weightage. Next, complements. How you find the complement? For any number with the base r, we find r's complement and r minus 1's complement. Correct? If the number is decimal, it has base, the base of decimal is 10. So you can find 10's complement and 9's complement. The procedure for finding the 9's complement, any r minus 1's complement is, okay, you use this formula, r power n minus 1 minus n, where r is the base, n is the number of bits, and capital N is the number. To find the 9's complement, any decimal number n, okay, need to be subtracted from that number of n number of 9's. N 9's minus n. If it is binary, you subtract it from n once, correct? Okay, you subtract it from n once. And if it is octal, you subtract it from n sevens. The number need to be subtracted from n sevens. And for hexadecimal, you subtract it from n f's minus the actual number. Okay, when you apply this formula, same as doing this, you multiply the decimal number, you subtract n from n 9's. N is the number of digits. If the decimal has 2 digits, you subtract the number given from 2 9's. Okay, 9 minus, if it is 82, 99 minus 82. Okay, that gives the 9's complement of the decimal number. And binary number, you need to subtract from n once. Octal, you subtract it from n sevens. Okay, if the input has 2 digits, you subtract it from 2 sevens. Okay, and hexadecimal, you subtract it from n f's. If it has 2 digits, you subtract the hexadecimal number given from 2 f's. That gives the r minus 1's complement. And to find r's complement, you just add 1 to the r minus 1's complement. Okay, as it is decimal, it is 10 power n minus 1 minus n. Okay, r it is equivalent to subtract the numbers from n 9's. Okay, and 10's complement you will find by adding 1 to the 9's complement. This is the same formula. Okay, 10 power n minus 1 minus n plus 1. And binary, as the base is 2, 2 power n minus 1 minus n. Subtract the number from n once. And it is 1's complement plus 1, 2's complement. And octal, to find this, you can find 8's and 7's complement for octal, as the base is 8. Okay, the formula for finding the 7's complement is 8 power n minus 1 minus n. Or you subtract the number from n sevens. Okay, and add 1 to the 7's complement, you get 8's complement. Hexadecimal, it is 16 power n minus 1 minus n, or it is same as subtracting from n f's and finding 15's complement is that, and 16 complement, you add 1 to the 15's complement. And binary coded decimal. So here binary coded decimal is commonly used for, to represent decimal in binary form. Here you have, this is the 8-bit binary coded decimal. This is binary code and this is the equivalent BCD code. If you see here, 9 is equivalent to 0001001. Okay, the same. Okay, it is the same for binary and this BCD. And for BCD, 10 is, take the first digit of decimal, Same as octal hexadecimal, how we find the, after 16 digits of hexadecimal, how we find the next digit, the binary equivalent of next digit. You split it into 2 digits. First, you write the binary equivalent of each digit. Same way, here, take the first digit, binary equivalent is 0001, and the second digit, write the binary equivalent. 11, 1, 1. Binary equivalent of 1 is 0001, and the second digit is 0001. Yeah, this is binary coded decimal. Then gray code. The other codes we learned, gray code, it changes by only 1 bit, right? So gray code changes by 1 bit as it sequences to the next number. Okay, here I have given the binary code and equivalent gray code. Okay, here if you see in binary code, it changes by more bits. Okay, so that is, and here we have also seen that it is, so we have weighted and unweighted codes. Weighted codes, certain weights are applied. If for binary it is, yes, 2 power 0, 2 power 1, 2 power 2, 2 power 3. It is 1, 2 power 1 is 2, 2 power 3 is 8. Sorry, 2 power 2 here, it is 4. 2 power 2 is 4 and 2 power 3 is 8. And binary, further it goes on like this. 2 power 4 is 16. The next digit will be 16. Okay, the binary code that we use. Here BCD is a 8421 code. Okay, you will have 8421. The weightage is 8421. It is an 8421 code. And we also have learned about 2421 code. Okay, the pattern of this binary bits produced is in this form. Okay, when you multiply these bits with these weightage, you will get the corresponding decimal equivalent. And this XS3 code is unweighted code. It is same as BCD, adding 3. When you add 3 to BCD, okay, you get XS3 code. 0000 plus what is 3? This, if you take first one, 0000 plus 3 is 0011. 0011 is 1100. So this is the XS3 equivalent of decimal 0. Okay, you will get 0011. Okay, this way the XS3 codes are obtained by adding just 3 to the BCD codes. And we have other codes for representing alphanumeric data, American Standard Code for Information Interchange, and EBCDIC. Again, it's not corrected. It's EBCDIC, Extended Binary Coded Decimal Interchange Code. Okay, different characters, all the characters and even the symbols like null, okay, start of heading, start of text, all these can be represented using these binary bits, and the decimal equivalent is given here, decimal and hexadecimal equivalent. Okay, alphabets, okay, capital alphabets and small alphabets. This is ASCII code. EBCDIC also follows the same, that also includes all these set of characters, but with a different pattern. Okay, means the different representations. We learned here about error detecting codes. Okay, error detecting codes are to detect if there is any error. During transmission, the data may be subject to some errors. So the bit 1, if bit 1 has to be transmitted, it has to be transmitted as 1. The receiver has to receive it as 1, not as 0. Okay, when the receiver receives it as 0, we say that there is an error. Okay, when there are large number of bits, a big message has been sent. Okay, if there is a small error, it is difficult to find. Okay, whether there is an error in the transmitted data or not. For that, for detecting, for finding if there is an error, we use error detecting codes. Parity bit is the most commonly used error detecting code that we have learned here. And how this error detection is done? One parity bit, one extra bit is added to the message, input message. Whatever the input message being sent, if it has 3 bits, the message will be sent as 4 bits. Okay, adding the parity bit. The parity bit can be added based on the parity used. Okay, if you want, if odd parity is used, the parity bit added is in such a way that it makes the number of ones in the message odd. correct? What is odd parity? Odd parity is making the number of ones in the message odd. Even parity is making the number of ones in the message even. If the message has already 2 ones, it is even number of ones. If odd parity is used there, the parity bit will be 1 to make it odd. Or if the message is, if it is 110, it has 2 ones. Okay, it is even number of ones. So to make it odd, the parity bit will become 1. Okay, if even, this is odd parity. Or if even parity is used, we don't add 1 here because already there are even number of ones. We want this bit to be 0. And if it is 100, here we have odd number of ones. Okay, so here odd will be 0 already, as we have odd number of 1, and even will make us 1 if it is even parity. Okay, we make us 1 to make it even. We add 1. So at the sending end, we have the parity generator circuit. Okay, that generates this parity bit based on the parity used, either 1 or 0. Okay, is being generated by this parity generator at the sending end. And this generator adds that bit. Okay, we have only 3 bits, X, Y, and Z are the input message, and the 4th bit is added. Okay, let's say it is some P, okay, parity bit. It is generated and this is also added. So at the output side, the receiver receives it as, this is Z, Y, X, and P. Okay, so receiver receives it as a 4-bit message with the parity. Okay, and the receiver, at the receiver end, we have this parity checker circuit that checks the parity. Okay, based on the parity used, it checks if it is correct. If it is received correct, the output of this will be 0. And if the output this parity checker generates 1, that means it is wrong. The message received is not correct. Okay, so it will be passed to the error, it will be corrected. The error will be corrected by error correcting codes. We also learned about this arithmetic addition and subtraction, right? It's 2's complement addition. If negative number is there, when we have negative number, we take the 2's complement of that. Okay, here we have plus 6 plus 3. This is plus 6, 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay, we have taken the 8-bit representation. So we are having 8 bits here. When we have 8 bits, when we have n bits in a data, the nth bit is the, 1 minute. Yeah, when we have n bits of data, the nth bit is the sign bit. As we have taken 8 bits here, 8th bit is the sign bit. When it is 0, for positive numbers, it is 0. Okay, plus 6 is represented this way. Okay, it is 0, 1, 1, 0. And plus 13 is 1, 1, 0, 1 with a positive sign. And when you add this, you get plus 19. And when you have negative numbers, in addition, when there is negative number, you complement. You take the 2's complement of 13. 2's complement of 13 is this. What generally 2's complement is just the negative form of that number. Okay, if it is positive, it becomes negative. Then, so here this is the 2's complement of 13, and we add it to plus 6. Okay, you get this. If you add 6 to directly, if you put 13 here, it will be like adding 6 and 13 plus 13. But we want minus 13 to be added. So we need the negative form of 13. So we complement it. Okay, we do 2's complement and get this. And here, yes, minus 6. So we need the 2's complement of 6. That is this. And 13. Add it to 13. We get the result, and as here both the numbers are negative, we have taken the 2's complement of both the number and added. Okay, and subtraction, for negative numbers we take the 2's complement, and in addition to that, the subtrahend need to be complemented. So minus 16, this is the 2's complement, minus 13, this is the 2's complement. Now this again need to be complemented. Okay, so we get this, that is 13 plus 13. When you take the 2's complement of minus 13, you get plus 13. Now, when you add this, you get the result, okay, after subtraction. This is how addition and subtraction are performed. Okay, that's all. Any doubts here? You should be clear with the completed portion, okay, binary addition and the number system, how the conversion is made. Then only it will be easy for you to proceed further to understand the other topics.